Thank you very much, Chair. Okay, moving on to item number 1 of this evening's agenda. So, apologies for absence. Claire, can you read out any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from councillors Clancy, Copplestone, Mancini, Boyle, Vincent and Yusafian.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. Moving on, item number 2 of the agenda, declaration of interests. Can I ask if any members have any interest to declare? Councillor Hollander.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to declare an interest as the Director of Broadland Living in item under Cabinet recommendations.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hartley.
Same for me, and the same reason.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving to item number 3 of this evening's agenda, so declarations of interest. So just highlighting the engagements undertaken by myself and the Vice Chair. So one slight amendment on page 8, my engagements missed out my visit to Buckingham Palace to the Royal Garden Party this year. So just missed out there. I don't know if it's intentional or not. So that's it. So and what I'd like to do now is give a little speech as the outgoing chair. So well, having lived in Broadland for most of my life and being a local Norwich boy, I'm very thankful for the opportunity and also the support from people over this last year, both here in council and residents and the officers and the one team. It's been fantastic and I've had a really great year. So over the course of that year, I've been to some great events and met lots of fantastic people and the businesses that make Broadland what it is. You know, look at the people at the award ceremonies like Community Heart Awards, the Business Awards, and they're the people that really drive us on, and they're the people that we as council should be supporting and helping make Broadland the area that we all love and live in. Thank you very much on that one. And also, when going to all these events, it's really great to go to so many different events, while also be considerate to the public purse. So, you know, I haven't taken, you know, anything in terms of, I haven't claimed money to travel to events and stuff like that. I think it's very important we do that as representing the people of Broadland. So, but now I want to thank lots of people. So I've got lots of people to thank because, you know, I'm here doing this role, but I couldn't do it without the support of all the fantastic people around. So the first people I'd like to thank, and they're sitting at the back there, so Nicola and Sonia, so the civic leads and helping us see us. And I've got a little gift for them, so if they want to come up, I can present them that gift. Thank you very much for all your efforts this year.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. I think without their help making sure we're at all the different events and responding to requests to attend events, we wouldn't be able to do the job that we do as chairman representing the council. So moving on to the next. So I'd also like to thank, I've already dropped chocolates off to them at their desk there, so all the teams across Democratic Services, because they also provide a great job supporting us for all different council meetings, committees and panels, and I think their work, you know, sitting here this evening with us into the evening is much appreciated. So thank you very much to them as well, and also the wider one team as well. So thank you very much there. And the last person I'd like to thank in particular has helped me greatly this year is Sham, who many of you'll know, is one of the one team. His enthusiasm, his hard work, his energy and never give up attitude has been fantastic. The help he provided in getting sponsorship and donations to my charity of the year was an example of what we should all be trying to achieve as officers. And so I've got a card here for Sham, so I'll leave it with one of the other officers, but I'd like to thank Sham for his efforts as well this year. Thank you. So, and then that also brings me on to my charity of the year. So for the different events this year, so a sponsored silence, so you've got to not hear me speak for a whole 24 hours. Other events, a charity auction, which is a fantastic evening where we raised, I think, over £3,000 approximately. But the total for the year, it comes to just shy of £6,500, about £6,469 and 61 pence. So I think that's a fantastic effort. That's gone to my Natasha's Algae Research Foundation. So, as you know, they do a great job nationally raising awareness for allergies. They're pushing out help with schools and free algae awareness training. Let's go out to schools in the Broadland area as we speak, starting to engage with local schools. They're really making a difference, and it was really quite touching to receive a personal letter from Nadia and Tanya, so Natasha's parents, for the work we've done. So I'd like to thank everybody that donated, helped with that, and all councillors put their hands in their pockets and donated to my charity this year, because that's been very much appreciated by the charity and myself. So thank you very much on that one. And last but not least, I'll go sponsor silence maybe, but the last bit I'd really like to thank 4 people at the back that come along this evening to see me stand there as chairman. So my family, my wife and daughter, and my parents. I think, as well as all the people that have supported us here, family is really important to me, and having those people behind me and support me through my year, very busy year it has been, was much appreciated. So thank you very much. And with that, I shall move on to the next item on the agenda. Okay, item number 4 on the agenda, so appointment of the chairman. So I'd like to seek nominations for chairman of the council for 25-26. Councillor Bibben.
I would like to propose Councillor Caroline as our new chair for the council.
Thank you very much, Chair. Do we have a seconder for that nomination? Councillor Thomas, sir. Are there any other nominations at all? No? Okay. There's no other nominations. I can confirm that Councillor Karimi Gouvelou is elected as chairman of the council for 25-26. Thank you very much. Like to start this? Yeah. I still depart.
Just bear with me while I get my papers together, please. Okay, declaration of acceptance of office. I, Caroline Karimi Gouvelou, have been elected to the office of Chair of Broadland District Council for 25-26. I declare that I take this office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code of conduct which is expected of members of Broadland District Council. I need a pen. Thank you. I do have a short speech which I'd like to read out to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, and dear councillors, it is an immense honour to accept the role of chairwoman of Broadland District Council and to be entrusted with this responsibility again. I promise to serve our district with dedication, fairness and a spirit of unity. Today is not only a personal milestone, but a moment of significance for our community and the history of Broadland, as I'm the first Muslim woman to hold this honoured position. This is not just a reflection of my own journey, but a testament to how far we have come as a district, one that values inclusion, representation, and the strength found in our diversity. One that, as the murdered MP Joe Cox once said, we are far more united and have far more in common than things that divide us. At my first council meeting of this term, I remember looking around and seeing so many people from different walks of life, all united by a shared commitment to serve. That diversity among our councillors is one of our greatest strengths. It brings fresh perspectives, richer debate, and a deep understanding of the people we represent. Broadland is a district of many voices and many stories. From our historic villages to our growing towns, we are home to a vibrant mix of cultures, faiths and communities. Over the coming year, I look forward to meeting many more of our residents and celebrating the incredible diversity that makes Broadland a special place to live. I'm especially excited to engage with our local faith groups, cultural organisations and community leaders to foster understanding and ensure that everyone feels seen, heard and valued, a place where everyone, regardless of background, can thrive and feel at home. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to announce my charity for this year will be Norwich Door to Door. If you haven't heard of this charity, Door to Door provides a lifeline to some of the most vulnerable members of our community, elderly residents who face daily challenges with mobility and isolation. Therefore, the theme of this year is Connecting Generations, Empowering Lives, focusing on fighting isolation and celebrating dignity in ageing. It is a reminder ageing is not about fading into the background. It's about continuing to live with purpose and connection. Norwich Door to Door makes that possible by offering accessible transport that helps elderly residents attend medical appointments, go shopping, visit friends and simply enjoy life. So let's make this year one of action, compassion and community spirit. I hope you will all come together with me to make a real difference in the lives of those who paved the way for us. Let's show our elderly residents that they are not alone. Thank you for listening and I look forward to serving you all in the year ahead. Natasha, did you want to say something?
I did. Thank you, Chair. I think normally we just sit and listen to Chair's words and politely nod along, but I really paid attention to what you were saying, and I just want to thank you for your words on inclusion and diversity, and I echo how important they are to this council, and I'm proud to be a part of such a diverse and welcoming council, and I'm sure we will all feel exactly the same about representing everybody in our community. So thank you for those words, Caroline.
Right, item 5 on the agenda is a vote of thanks for the retiring chair, and I will invite Councillor Hartley to propose a vote of thanks to Adrian.
Me again, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Adrian for his thanks of all the people who have supported him, and I'm sure you'll all agree that Adrian has done a fantastic job as chair. He has been incredibly energetic and enthusiastic, and I've been pleased and a little bit jealous to see some of the photos he regularly sends me when he's hobnobbing with the royals and other people, but he's done a great job, and I think more importantly he's represented our council fantastically and raised a huge amount of money. And not only has the money been raised for a really good organisation, but awareness has been raised too. I think it's actually been really educational to learn so much more about food allergies, and I've personally learned a huge amount, and I really enjoyed eating the food. So thank you for that. Well done on your chosen charity, and thank you to everyone who contributed to raising money. Thank you very much.
Are there any other members of the council who wish to speak? Sue? Yeah.
Yes, I'd just like to echo those words and thank Adrian because I think he has done an absolutely sterling job. I just want to say to Caroline as well, you're going to have to work jolly hard this year, aren't you, to beat that target?
Yeah.
But, you know, so thank you, Adrian, from all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Caroline, on your appointment. And I wish you all success for the coming years. Excuse me. We have a history of welcoming those who come to the area in Norfolk and particularly Broadland. I think we should all be grateful of the contribution made by all, regardless of their gender, race, religion, creed and colour. Many do the jobs with compassion and kindness, particularly keeping our health and care sector going, that a lot of us wouldn't even want to do. They all add value and colour to our community, so I wish them all well, and I think we should all be grateful we live in an area that represents people like that. Thank you.
Fran, yes.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on your reinstatement. I don't know what words to use, really. But yeah, I just wanted to thank the outgoing chair. Obviously, he grew into the role and did represent the council well, which I'm really pleased about, which is what it's about. And I know you've done that in the past and you'll do it again for the following year. I think, you know, we are very inclusive, and I'm really pleased to hear the charity that you're looking to support. I've just come from the VCSE AGM, actually. Yeah, interesting, and I know our VCSE, the voluntary sector, etc., are looking to work closer together, not only with ourselves as councils, but generally with the wider system, shall we say, that support people. So I just wanted to say that's really good, and I'm really pleased. I actually know the chairman of Norwich Door to Door, but yeah, 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 but I think it's great. It's a great charity. So well done. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak? No? I understand I have a certificate of appreciation to give to Adrian. Sonia, have you got that? Right, item 6, we need to appoint the Vice Chairman. I would like to seek nominations for the Vice Chair, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to nominate Adrian Tipple to be the Vice Chair.
Do you have a seconder? Yes, Chair. Thank you. Are there any other nominations for Vice Chair? No? So no other nominations. I would like to invite Adrian to come and take his seat at the top table, please. Yeah.
I know. That's yours, Caroline. Right, declaration and acceptance of office. I, Adrian Tipple, have been elected office of Vice Chairman of Broadland District Council for 25-26. Declare that I take office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of Broadland District Council. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And I think I've got all my steps in for tonight, so I'll hand over to everything goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Minutes of the council meeting on the 20th of March. Can I refer members to the minutes of the last meeting? It's on page 9 of your documents. And can I ask members to indicate by a show of hands if they're happy to approve them as a true and accurate record? Thank you. Are there any matters arising from those minutes? No? Okay, thank you. Minutes of committee meetings. Can I refer you to the minutes of the meetings for the Audit Committee, Overview and Scrutiny, Cabinet and Planning Committee? They're all on page 19 of your documents. They're just a note. Next one is announcements. I've already made my announcement for my Charity of the Year. I would like to ask the Vice Chair if they have any announcements, please.
I don't have any announcements, Stephen, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I understand the leader is going to make an announcement later on. And any members of the Cabinet who wish to make announcements? No? Okay. Management Director, do you wish to make an announcement?
Chair, if I can, first off, can I offer my congratulations on behalf of the officers of the Council on your reappointment as Chair of the Council. Congratulations. And I would like to bring to Councillors' attention the fact that the Planning Department and indeed the Greater Norwich Local Plan have both been listed as finalists in national awards. So something, if you do bump into the team, worth mentioning to them. Thank you.
That's good news. Thank you. We go to the election of the leader for the council. Can I have nominations for the position of leader for the council for 25-26? Natasha.
I would like to propose Sue Holland.
Yes, Chair, I'd like to second Sue Holland.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? No, thank you. I declare Councillor Sue Holland as elected as leader of the council for 25-26. I would invite the new leader. I would invite the new leader to announce the names and designations of cabinet members, please.
Thank you. Before I do that, I would quite like to just say a few words. I think it's quite important that I make some comments about our year that we've had so far. And I would like to start as well by welcoming Councillor Lee, our newest member, who is here representing Acre Ward. And I'd actually like to add and thank you, all members, for their continued hard work as representing their communities, and I'm sure we'll all continue to do that. I think what I really wanted to say is that I'm really proud of what our administration as a council and all of us as a council have achieved over the last 2 years for Broadland communities and the businesses we serve. So one of our key priorities has been developing our environmental strategies, and that's to include both carbon reduction and biodiversity net gain. And this evening, I'd just like to say I'm really proud to be able to say that Broadland is now the council with the lowest carbon footprint in Norfolk. It's quite an achievement, and with our other projects, it helps to deliver change in the face of what are critical climate challenges. We've been the lead authority in tackling nutrient neutrality, which has unlocked more than 1,600 homes across Norfolk, with many more to come. Our work with Broadland Country Park gathers pace as we continue to develop the nature programme inside there. We promise to work to provide the right homes in the right places, and our portfolio of temporary accommodation properties continues to grow, representing not only a response to the challenges of homelessness, but also a considerable financial saving, as we've attracted significant funding from the government to build our capital assets. We're delivering 76 new jobs in the Broadland economy through the Business Builder programme, and we've provided start-up advice to 76 entrepreneurs. Over the last 2 years, we've also issued over £1 million in grants via the Shared Prosperity Fund, the Rural England Prosperity Fund, and the Business Rates Pool. We've increased our support and early intervention provision, ensuring we're able to support people when they are most in need. There are more such projects in the pipeline, including some to work with ageing people and the issues around falling and so on. So there are lots of things we're trying to do and that we will work towards bringing into action in the next year. Again this year we've been able to agree a balanced budget, so we've put ourselves in a strong financial position with a significant capital programme, but at the same time being able to freeze our portion of council tax. And that's allowed us to avoid imposing any additional financial burden on residents in what continues to be a challenging financial environment for so many people. Following the government decision to dissolve all the district councils, you knew I couldn't get away with that, I had to say something about LGR, all the district councils and the county council in Norfolk and indeed Suffolk, and in fact nationally, we are working really hard to ensure that what comes next is the very best it can be for both Broadland and local democracy, working under the constraints of the criteria permitted by government. Although we will cease to exist in 2028, we will in the meantime continue to deliver excellent services, and we will work to provide a lasting legacy for all Broadland residents, which I hope will be carried forward into the new structure when it's formed. I would like to thank officers for their continued dedication and advice, helping us to ensure we deliver our best for residents. And once again, I thank all of you, all members, for your hard work and the way you support your communities. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you to fulfil our delivery plans. And that will bring me to the Cabinet team. There are no changes to the portfolio holders. This therefore will be the Deputy Leader and the portfolio holder for Communities and Housing will be Councillor Natasha Hartley. Finance portfolio will be Councillor Steve Riley. Economic Growth will be Councillor Martin Booth. Environment Councillor Jan Davis. And Planning will be Councillor Dan Roper. So I think that's probably it from me. I hope we all have a very successful year ahead. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Sue. That's not really all from you, because I'm going to invite you to present the Monitoring Officer's report, please.
Thank you. Yes, the Monitoring Officer's report. Well, there aren't too many changes. I think there are some, the portfolio holders are pretty much the same. The one thing I will point out is that we have removed CEC committee. There are good reasons for that, because actually we felt that it replicated a lot of the work that overview and scrutiny do, and so we're trying to make the whole thing more efficient, and I think actually this will do that. And another way of making it more efficient is that we're looking to increase the numbers on audit committee. So I always feel like overview and scrutiny, like at the start of a process, an audit is one of those things that monitors the finish of a progress to see what the, what the activities have been and whether they're successful. I think that's a good way to work when you have a cabinet system, that you allow people to inspect and look at those things in order to make sure we are doing the right things and we are being safe and secure and not taking too many risks that we can't manage. So I hope you'll all agree that that structure will work. I think we've all put forward our representatives for those new posts, and I think also everything else is pretty much the same, I believe. I don't even think many of the members have changed panels or so forth, but there are one or two extras, as I say, coming on to the audit committee. Is there anything else I need to say along those lines?
No, I should have said it's on page 2 of your supplementary documents.
So sorry.
And we just need a seconder.
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any comments from members? Fran.
Thank you, Chairman. There was a couple of things I wanted to raise, but it's Appendix 3, there's a couple of names that I've got in the wrong place, actually, when I've sent it to the Chief of Staff here, unfortunately. So on licensing, Stuart Clancy should not be on there, but Nigel Brennan should. Okay, and on planning, the opposite way around, actually. So Nigel Brennan will come off of there and Stuart Clancy will go on to planning. Okay, and obviously in due course we'll give you names for the community grant scheme. I just also wanted to say that I am the leader of the Conservative group as such, and I've still got a shadow in place, and so I'll tell you who they are. So Simon Jones will be covering the finance portfolio, working alongside Joe Coppleston. Martin Murrell will cover communities and housing. Jonathan Empsall will cover economic development. Kenneth Kelly will cover environmental excellence, and Stuart Clancy planning. But also Paul Newstead, who's been working alongside us around transformation, will continue to do so alongside myself. So thank you.
Nick.
Sorry, just the irony that the biggest efficiency service improvement in efficiency can make is to abolish itself. Just as just had to be noted, but I'm pleased it has stopped, because it's one of those committees, and have Inspector Lisa, who's just had to leave the meeting, but she's been chairing it, and she keeps saying, why does this committee exist? Because she turns up to do 20-minute meetings, and yeah, so it's long overdue, and that's going to be a further efficiency.
Thank you. I'll invite the leader to respond. I did forget to say the seconder. Did you wish to respond, or no, you're going to wait? Okay. Leader, if you'd like to respond.
I don't think there's anything more to say, although Councillor Wymark has just reminded me I didn't mention the fact that the community grant panel structure has changed slightly. So rather than the leader being on there, it will be the chair or the vice chair. I actually think that's probably more appropriate, really. So I think that will work quite nicely. So that's the only additional thing that I neglected to mention when I set out. So I hope everybody's happy to support this structure. Thank you very much, or this report.
Steve, did you wish to speak? No? Okay. Right, I refer members to the recommendation on page 5 of the supplementary. I won't read it all out, it's quite long. And I would ask members to vote for that. All those in favour, please? Thank you. Anybody against or abstaining? No, thank you. Right, appointments to outside bodies for the next year. I'd like to refer you to the report on appointments for outside bodies. That's page 82. And I would ask the leader again to introduce the item.
Thank you. I don't think there's any changes actually from last year. No major changes, at least, other than any that I've noticed. So I'm just happy to propose that we accept those people to those bodies. Thank you.
Okay, can I ask for a seconder, please?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sue, do you want to respond or not? No?
I don't think there's really anything to
Okay.
say, is there?
Can we...
I would just like to say that I do need an assistant. I would just like to thank all the members who've helped me over the decades, because this is my 4th decade as a councillor here, and I like to think that I'm a bit of an empty nester, because a lot of the candidates, indeed all the ones here tonight for the Lib Dems, I've helped at some stage or other, and it's nice to see them that grow and expand and continue with the good work which was started many years ago. Thank you, Chair.
Beadle. I would like to invite you to vote for the appointments outside bodies. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. We move on to scheme of delegation. I refer members to the agenda, page 3. The need to approve this scheme of delegation in accordance with the Constitution. And I invite the leader again.
Again, I think there are no changes there, so I'm hoping that everybody will be happy to accept as they stand.
Okay, do you have a seconder? Second. Thank you. Again, I'd like to invite a show of hands, please. All those in favour? Thank you. Number 14, we're going on to council meetings for the next year. On the agenda, page 3, there's a list of the dates. Can I invite a proposer and a seconder to approve the dates, please? Proposer? Thank you, Dave. Seconder? Thank you. I'm afraid we're going to have to show our hands again. All those in favour? Thank you. We have no questions and no public speaking. So we'll go on to item 17, annual report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I'd like to refer you to the report on page 88 for the annual report of Overview and Scrutiny, and I would like to ask the Chairman, Councillor Nick Starling, to present the report, please.
Thank you. I will read out the statement, although it's in there, but because I'd like to add just 1 or 2 little bits to it. I'm pleased to present this annual report of the Broadland District Council's Overview and Scrutiny Committee. This year has been busier than ever, with the Overview and Scrutiny Committee looking into important issues such as the Food Innovation Centre, Broadland Country Park, the Council's environmental strategy, development of the Council's waste and recycling support facilities, and the work of Broadland District Council's Help Hub. Furthermore, we looked importantly into the Council's rationale and funding of the 0% council tax freeze. I just want to add here, you will have heard, obviously, the leader's statement regarding the work of the council over the last 12 months, and virtually all of this has, in some way, come under the scrutiny committee's watch at some point. I do believe that being on ONS is the greatest training you can have as a councillor, because you just know everything about the council and what is going on. I previously served for 9 years, not on this council, but on one other council, where I was part of a ruling group. and 5 years as an opposition councillor, and I learnt more in my first year in ONS than I had in those 9 years. So I think it's worth saying that one area of the committee will continue to scrutinise closely and often will be the Customer Experience Programme, a multi-year project to enhance and improve the level of service given by Broadland District Council to its residents. I really want to thank all the councillors who've contributed to this. I shouldn't really single anyone out, but I actually want to thank Councillor Paul Newstead, who's shown a particular interest and been very, I think, supportive of the work the council is doing, but also asked some very important questions. So I thank Paul for that. But do you know what? Everybody contributes at meetings. It wasn't always the way at the start. I think Chief of Staff will acknowledge. We've sort of all grown into it more and more. And it's so much so that people don't tend to always sit amongst their political friends. People tend to sit where there's a gap. And I think that speaks volumes for how the committee is working at the moment. We've also had those other organisations, such as the Broadland Youth Advisory Board, come in to talk to us. And this year we're also pleased to have the meeting with the new Police and Crime Commissioner for Norfolk to talk about policing, rural crime and changes that she is proposing to help Broadland keep to be one of the safest parts of the UK to live in. As always, I would like to offer my thanks to the wonderful team of staff and officers who support my work as the chair of the committee and help the committee to run so smoothly. Also thanks to all the officers of the council for compiling reports that members could effectively scrutinise policies and plans on behalf of our residents. I would also like to offer my thanks to Councillor Peter Bullman, my vice chair, for his support over the last year and his, and I will add, sometimes his unusual angle on looking at things, but also that it always makes us think a little bit more about our responses. And I think we should be grateful for that. There's nothing wrong with being contrary sometimes, as I've actually said to him. So thank you. I'd like to thank him for that. So I commend this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Starling. Moving on to recommendations arising from the Cabinet meeting held on the 22nd of April. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Bullman.
I could not let the opportunity pass without making some sort of comment. Can I say, as improbable as it may seem, I have enjoyed working alongside Councillor Starling, and I enjoy working with him, and I'm sure I will continue to do so, as improbable as it may seem.
Thank you very much for those words. Right, so go back to recommendations arising from the Cabinet meeting held on the 22nd of April. Refer members to the list of Cabinet recommendations on page 112 of your report. Go first to Broadland District Council Risk Management Policy Update. And I will ask Councillor Riley to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. I nearly had a giggling fit there from Peter, actually. I remember my time when I noticed Peter as well. Fun times we had, Peter. So I'll try and get, actually get that out of my mind a moment. Right, so in recommending this from the Cabinet, Chair, I'd just like to point out or draw members' attention to what the risk management policy currently is. It's a key policy document on risk. It guides risk management responsibilities and practices within the Council, both by members and officers. It sets expectations of how roles support each other in risk management and our shared understanding of how we communicate about the risks needs to manage, reflecting development in terms of good practice, as reflecting our local government guidance and references such as the Orange Book. Current position and findings, the strategic and intelligence team have reviewed the risk management policy with myself. Changes are highlighted in real detail in Appendix 1, so I won't actually go through those, Chair. You'll see under 3.1 there's 8 bullet points which head those for members' attention. And in terms of the proposed action, approving the risk management policy update will enable the Council to continue to mature its risk management practices and to continue to build a positive risk management culture. Approval of the risk management policy update would be followed with update guidance and training for officers and members if requested. So without further ado, Chair, I recommend and so move.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Do you have a seconder, please? Thank you. Do you wish to speak now? Oh, okay. Are there any other members of the Council who wish to speak on this? Yes, Grant.
Thank you, Chairman. Just going through the papers that we've been given on ModGov, it's very helpful to see the little notes that have been attached in so we could see where the changes are. So I just want to say thank you for that, particularly to Matthew, who's obviously done all those changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, I'll invite Councillor Riley to sum up if you wish to.
Just to say, Chair, I do appreciate Councillor Northam's comments there, because we have actually been spending a really long, we've spent a lot of time and with our new officer in terms of the detailing and updating. And I think now that the way these reports will come forward to the Audit Committee will be much clearer, much more targeted, and you'll see the 3 lines approach within the document as well, which will really help in terms of that iteration. So I do appreciate the comments, and reflects the work that's ongoing in regards to the risk management policy, and I thank the officer's involvement and our new officer in terms of that. And yes, so moved, Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the Council to approve the proposed Broadland District Council Risk Management Policy as stated on page 122 of your documents. I'm not going to read it all out, it's rather a lot. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Next one is going on to the Local Lettings Cascade Policy, which is on page 136, and I'll ask Councillor Hartley to introduce the report, please, and propose.
Thank you, Chair. Tonight we are proposing to make some changes to our S106 local lettings policy to help give existing residents increased priority for affordable housing and to promote more sustainable, cohesive communities. Whilst our choice-based letting scheme is centred on evidence of housing need, additionally, a local connection to specific towns and parishes is applied where a S106 agreement is in place. Our existing policy applies to a third of new affordable rent homes on a first-let basis and prioritises residents with a local connection. However, it lacks specificity for residency timescales, hours worked in the area, and definitions of family and local connections, leading to potential inconsistencies. This revised policy makes changes that provide greater transparency, a more consistent approach, and enables long-term access to affordable homes for our residents. The full details, including cascade information, are in your papers, but in summary, the main changes are quantifying both the local residency eligibility and minimum hours worked criteria, removing any ambiguity, ensuring that in parishes of fewer than 3,000 residents, applicants in housing need who meet the local connection criteria will be given priority for all affordable homes for rent at first let and in perpetuity, extending this to current and former residents of neighbouring parishes by inserting a cascade into the S106 agreement, clearly setting out which neighbouring parishes are included in the priority local connection criteria. And in towns and parishes with a population of more than 3,000 residents, applicants in housing need who meet the local connection criteria will be given priority for around 1/3 of all affordable rented homes at first let and in perpetuity. These changes will not be applied retrospectively to existing developments, but would instead apply to all new S106 agreement properties currently being negotiated. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please? Councillor? Okay, thank you. I would ask members to comment. Yes, Brian?
Thank you, Chairman. I really welcome this report. Well, it was an oversight by me, actually, when we were looking at housing allocation policy before, around the section 106. And I didn't realise it wasn't in perpetuity, unlike South Norfolk, and we should have rectified it then. So I'm really pleased to see this come forward, and I look forward to our residents enjoying the opportunity to remain in their own community if they choose to do so. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilmot. Do you wish to respond?
Really just to say thank you for those words. I think we've long talked about the benefits of having things in perpetuity, so I really want to thank you for highlighting that and acknowledging a previous oversight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I do very much welcome this, and I think it's absolutely progressive. My concern is, though, we must, at planning, ensure when we negotiate new housing development that we do get the affordable housing quota that we should have. And I say this because there's an application coming for Helsden where the quota was meant to be 31%, and that's now cut down to, I think, between 12 and 14. Helsden councillors do know about it, but if we are going to find homes for our people in our communities who wish to stay with the criteria that you are now, we are ratifying this evening, which I welcome, we must ensure that our planning guidelines are adhered to as much as possible. Thank you.
Councillor Gurney, I will just step in at this point. You're talking about planning application that's yet to be determined, so I would have a word of caution over that, and you have potentially just predetermined yourself as well on that application. I don't think we need to discuss it further at this point, but can members just remember what we discuss in this chamber? Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to me as seconder. Without commenting on any individual planning application, we hear you loud and clear as far as the importance of ensuring that the affordable element is delivered within plans which are put forward. It is one of the priorities of this administration to get the right homes in the right places, and affordable homes is one of the key drivers of that. So we hear you loud and clear. With regards to this policy itself, it's about how you take a good policy and actually make it better by listening to people. And I think this does strengthen the policy. It's good news for communities and residents, and I entirely commend it to you.
Thank you. Sorry? Councillor Hartley, do you wish to respond? No? Okay. I will refer members to the recommendations from the Cabinet on page 136. I'm going to ask members to vote. All those in favour, please. Thank you. It's unanimous. Next is the best-in-class temporary accommodation purchase, stage 2. That's on page 144. And I will ask Councillor Riley to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. This report isn't as dry as the last report. So there's a lot to this in terms of our policies and what we're trying to do for the public out there in terms of quality temporary accommodation as well, and in relation to ensuring that we can provide temporary accommodation with increased needs and that we don't bankrupt ourselves in terms of revenue, which is hitting a lot of councils, as we know, up and down the country. So the actual recommendations here under 1, 2, 3, I am going to directly read it out because myself and the officer spent a lot of time on the exact wording in here, which is a little bit unusual because we've put some descriptive reasoning in here as well. Perhaps you wouldn't see that as much normally in recommendations. So this follows on from the previous cabinet meeting where we accepted the LHF grant funding. That grant funding did not come to the amount that we'd asked for. We'd asked for considerably more, but due to the scheme being oversubscribed, etc., and shortage of funds, we only received LHF funding for three properties and 1 resettlement. However, as you can see in the report, we're going further than we've gone before. So far, all the LHF properties we have taken on have had match funding, every single one of them. This report, we are taking on more properties than the funding's provided. How are we doing that? We're doing that via using some pretty outstanding, actually, business approach to this in terms of the use of capital, internal borrowing, and also in the future we will be looking to borrow when the appropriate interest rates are correct, which then gives us the potential to use economic gearing for future purchases. So we are creating a capital budget of 3.4 million for Broadland Council to purchase additional temporary accommodation in this financial year of 25-26. specifically 2 3-bedroom houses to be used as houses of multiple occupancies, which will provide 6 units, and 15 2-bedroom flats to be provided as family accommodation. This budget includes local authority housing 3B funding, as previously agreed, which totalled 638,000, which isn't specified in the report, but that's what it is. It was in the previous cabinet report. It's 478,000 towards purchase of 3, and 159,000 towards 1 resettlement property, which we are actually passing on to a registered provider. That way we can use more of our capital to provide temporary accommodation. To fund up to 50% of the total contribution from the council, the total contribution being 2.7 million, from remaining monies in the Opportunity Fund and the Broadland Growth Reserve. Initially, internal borrowing will be undertaken for the amount not funded by the reserves, meaning the other 50%. When interest rates fall to an appropriate level, external borrowing will be undertaken, which will be covered by the rental income obtained from these properties, which are being financed. And that's what we spend a lot of time on in terms of the business case, to make sure that that's achievable. The actual contributions from the reserves and the timing of the borrowing to be determined by the Assistant Director of Finance and in consultation with portfolio holder for finance. And every month myself and Rodney are monitoring the Public Loans Board rates, and we are trying to see long-term trends in terms of where that current interest rate is, so we borrow at appropriate time. Also, in terms of how much capital we leave in as a council, we will judge that at that point in time, anywhere from 30 to 50%, depending upon how that breaks through and what's in the best interest of the council in terms of capital and borrowing requirement, as long as the rents cover what we're borrowing. And that's the key point here. And why? Well, if you turn to the report 3.3, you'll see we set aside in the council's tax setting budget 810,000 to cover B&B. That's our predicted additional use this year. However, by not doing nothing, we would be reducing that by half, down to 524,000. This would have an effect on our council tax revenue of saving us 524,000 in terms of this year's revenue. But it also, of course, has a long-term effect the year after and the year after. It's a cumulative effect. If you then look at 3.3, 26-27, the need on predictions go up to 1.5 million of spending required on B&B. If you look at 27-28, that goes up to 2.8. 27-29, 4.5 million. Now that's a problem for this council, it'd be a problem for any council in terms of being able to fund that. So by not doing nothing and by applying this policy, it means that in 25-27, 404, 27-28 reduced to 1 million, and 28-29 to 2.8 million. Now at the end of the year, 25, we're going to review where we think we are in terms of the need. Is it matching what the predictions are? And if it is, then we'll be moving forward to also purchasing more housing in 26-27. You can see on page 149, 3.6, that we'd be purchasing 20 single units, HMOs, and family units of 15. And to purchase that, we are putting together the means by being able to do so, even if we did not receive any LHF funding, if the government did withdraw it. So therefore, this is quite a comprehensive policy we've put together here on a proper business setting and using economic gearing, which will come into play with what we've currently done to achieve it. So we're trying to safeguard the council in all sorts of ways, even if the government did not provide all the LHF funding for these in terms of 50% or any. So that's quite an achievement, I think, for the council looking forward. But of course, we'll have to review this at the end of the year. So this is strategic for the whole council in what we do in all sorts of ways. It also means that we'll be able to bring in capital, which will be much needed in the future as well. Capital is hard to come by, and as you know, when we took over in the council, we did have all the general reserve committed to as well. We now have more money in our general reserve as well as a result of what we've been doing. So I highly recommend this to the council, as does the cabinet chair, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Do you have a seconder? Dan? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Very happy to second the proposal. I think we can all absolutely agree that buying these properties is the right thing for the council to do. It speaks for itself in the tables, in the appendices. Doing nothing will be a betrayal of Broadland residents who are in need. It will also be a betrayal of the Broadland taxpayer. So we need to act and we need to purchase these properties. Some members might be concerned about the talk of borrowing, which has taken place within this debate. I would urge them not to be concerned about that and take the assurances, as has been provided, in terms of borrowing only when the interest rates are at the appropriate level. And the tipping point on that is when the cost of borrowing is covered by the rental income. So the costs are not falling on us with regard to that borrowing, because they are being covered by the income. And the question comes, well, why would you borrow when you still have reserves? And my answer to that is always, our reserves are finite, and if you concentrate purely on reserves, that limits the ambitions of this council in terms of how much further it can go on this policy and how much further we can purchase. And it allows for a level of flexibility in our purchasing to make sure that we can push potentially further than if we purely relied on the reserves on this aspect. So I think it's a sensible approach to financing that has been put forwards. I think we can all agree that the council is doing the right thing with this with this policy, and we look forward to extending our offer as far as temporary accommodation goes in the future.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak on this report? Fran, then Stuart.
Thank you, Chairman. I welcome this report. I very much welcome this report. I just feel that it's a little late. We could have had this report some while ago. I could have predicted this to you 2 years ago when you took the administration over. We're going to be in this situation. And I don't understand why we've sat on our hands for 2 years. You know, realistically, when you say in the report here, it says in report 2.4 on page 147 that you've purchased an additional 44 units. Well, actually, this administration's only purchased 9, because 35 were in train. In fact, 40 were in train, but you decided not to buy the other 5. So, I'm sorry, but you've bought 9 units, realistically, over 2 years. You could have bought an awful lot more. As you said, you've avoided circa £870,000 because of that policy, and I'm pleased about that. As a council, I'm very, very pleased. But I do think we could have been in a stronger position had we been more forward-thinking. I'm glad that we're going down this road now. I really am. I must say, around the borrowing, that there's always a time when borrowing may be the right thing to do. But when you've got significant reserves, and we have still got significant reserves, why would you go out and borrow at 5% or 4.75%? I know it's saying here, and obviously the cabinet member there for planning has said, you know, be at the appropriate level. What is the appropriate level? You know, so I am concerned about the push to borrow money, and it feels like regardless we're going to borrow money. So we get to the right point, we'll borrow money. But if we've got money sitting in the bank earning, sometimes some of the money sitting in the bank isn't earning a great deal of money. So let's think about it more sort of in the round, really. But no, I do welcome this report, and I really do. And I think it's absolutely the right thing to do, because otherwise we will be looking at a major issue financially. But as I say, I do feel like this administration sat on their hands for 2 years. Thank you.
Stuart?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would really, really love to think that this scheme was risky. I really would. I really would. Unfortunately, housing need is rising exponentially. It's becoming really dramatic, the amount of homelessness which is arising nationally, let alone within this authority area. And therefore, because of that, the risk is eliminated. And you know, I do feel that the national policies of government are actually forcing homelessness up quite dramatically. And the local authorities, like ours, are having to pick the problem up. And therefore, I think there's no risk in this because I can't see homelessness going down, unfortunately. I wish it was. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Holland and then Councillor Morrell, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'd just like to make the point that when we were talking about in the previous administration about setting aside money for temporary accommodation, it was a Liberal Democrat proposal that we doubled the money that we were putting away because we could see this was going to be a problem. The original administration did not accept that, but I still think that would have been a good way forward. The next thing I would also add is that what we have done is not sit on our hands, but we have waited for an opportunity to get the best value. And the way we've done that is by using government funding. So everything that we have brought in and spent, we have had 40% of that has been money that's been given to us by the government. So I think that's quite important. And I also think, I accept that people worry about borrowing, of course they do, but the point about it is we're not going to borrow at 5% or 4.9%. What we're saying is we will borrow when the rent that comes in covers the cost of the borrowing, so it is cost neutral to this council. That is the only point at which we will borrow that money. And I think obviously the finance portfolio holder will correct me if I've got that wrong, but that's my understanding. So I don't feel that we've been sitting on our hands. We've waited for the right moments to come forward. We've also been very careful to make sure that we are working with the funds that we've got and distributing them correctly. So I think this is the next step where we're actually being able to increase what we're doing, and I heartily commend this new proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I fully support the purchase of the property. I mean, I brought this up over 6 years ago when I first became a councillor, and knowing where we're going. Again, my concern is around the borrowing. If we look at the Treasury Management Quarter 2 report from the Cabinet on the 10th of February, in Table 2.1, where we've got the 91 Fund, which again is not performing, and yet we are looking at then saying that we're going to borrow when the rents reach an appropriate level to match the renting. Well, how is that performing against that? I don't believe it is.
Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, that element that Martin just mentioned was brought up at ONS, and the Chairman of Audit really seriously questioned the income that we were getting and wanted that to be something I believe the Audit Committee are looking into. So hopefully that will be addressed, but that appears to have been a long-term issue with a fund that the council have sat on over many years and many administrations of massive underperformance that I could have got better from just sticking it in a current account almost. I mean, it was that level of poor investment. So hopefully that will be rectified in itself and bring in a larger income.
Thank you. Councillor Hopley.
If I may just add a couple of comments. I do reject the allegation of sitting on our hands, as well as what Councillor Holland has just said about we have to maximise the opportunities by using government funding. We've also done modelling, which you'll be aware of, having attended the panel meetings. We don't have money to spend willy-nilly. We had to do the correct modelling to see what housing was needed. So we made sure that we bought the right homes in the right places. We're always hearing talk of we need a business case, we need a business case. That is what we've done. We provided that. Thank you.
Thank you. At the end of this debate, I'm going to ask Councillor Riley to briefly respond.
I can't promise it'll be brief though, Chair. There's been a number of points raised which need to be answered, Chair, by the way. I mean, they really do. They can't just be left. So, one, there's plenty of capital for us to be using in relation to the purchase of housing. I'm sorry, but that just strictly isn't factually correct. There's actually plenty of capital that was already committed to within the previous administration's plans. And when you hear this 23 million in reserves, I keep on hearing, and it comes, I've seen it at ONS, I've seen it here, Fran, I've seen it in other places. Great, we've got all this money. That's not true. All of that money is committed to. What we had from the February Cabinet that you committed to, and I've shown you the document, I did it at the previous meeting, and I was sitting there on that end, actually, I had it in my bag, I can do it again. But in February of 2023, before we took office in May, all of the commitments around spending required the full amount of the reserve, the general reserve of 5.5 million. Now then, looking at that, where are we going to raise the capital for temporary accommodation? Now, the issue there was we was putting the plans together, coming off of what was the real issue going to be around temporary, plus also pulling in the LHF funding. If you look at the timing on LHF funding, we certainly haven't sat on our hands. We were one of the first councils to use it and adopt it within the country. So we moved as fast as was reasonably possible. And what we've been doing in terms of capital, if you look at the capital reserve now, there's actually more in that reserve than there is committed to in terms of the general reserve. We've actually turned the corner on that. There's more reserve. And you'll be finding, not this report, but another report coming to the council, we're putting more in the general reserve. So the issue here is that we haven't sat on our hand. We've moved pretty rapidly on this. And if we hadn't have done, then we would have been spending a lot more money than what is reflected in this report over the previous year in particular. We've already saved, I think it's somewhere around about 900,000, but don't quote me on that because I haven't got the figures to hand, on the purchase of properties connected with the LHF. So we've certainly not been sitting on our hands. And the whole issue about business case and money being invested, where is it best? Remember that B&B costs us between 17 to 18,000 per year for one unit. This is actually costing on revenue. If you look at the return we receive in terms of investment income overall within the fund, overall, because the fund needs to be an overall. So in some investments, we may actually achieve 6.1, and other investments might achieve 4.1. That's why you have a spread of portfolios, but overall it's around about 5%. Perfectly normal. Martin, you mentioned one of those only. So that's perfectly normal. Any fund, pension funds doing the same thing. Some investments are higher than others, and you average it. So it's around about 5%. If you look at what we're returning there, what we're saving the council in terms of revenue, it actually is a no-brainer. Plus also, if we can use economic gearing via the technique of borrowing against our capital, we're bringing capital in which we vitally need for further temporary accommodation. And we may even get to a point, if we're still here and we've got time enough to do it, and we can bring in some borrowing, where we need no capital from this council to actually start to purchase housing, which, you know, most people would say, oh, how are you doing that? Well, it is actually possible in terms of economic gearing, using borrowing appropriately, as long as you're covering your costs on borrowing. What we don't want to do, and which we've put in our manifesto as well, we will prudently run this council financially. We will not do what some councils have had to do, given some due in terms of this, and that's borrowing in terms of providing services, because they've been so hard stretched, so hard put, they've had to borrow. I know the county at the moment is $750 million. How much of that is actually borrowing on totally capital projects, and you can't actually associate it with revenue, really? So the borrowing here would not be a drag anchor on revenue. I've made it clear, and the Cabinet have supported it, we will not get into a position where we are borrowing money willy-nilly just to support services, because we can actually support services, enhance services, by running the council in a prudent way, so much so that we could freeze council tax and do this with temporary accommodation. So I think that's a pretty good record. We understand the business case. I don't believe that the Conservatives do, and that is no fault of ours. And that's where I am, and I think that's a fair appraisal, Chair. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. I'm going to move on to the vote. Recommendations are on page 145 that Councillor Riley read out. All those in favour of this recommendation, please raise your hand. Thank you, it's unanimous.
I was just interrupt to say it's usually me who gets needlessly political, so can I just say that wasn't me?
Okay, we're moving on, please. Item 19, outside organisations. I'll ask you to note the members on the outside boards is on the supplementary report on page 18. That is just a note. Thank you. Questions from members? I would invite Councillor Thomas to ask a question. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. Could I ask the Council Leader to please outline the position of the administration on car parking charges in the district?
Councillor Holland, you have 5 minutes to respond.
Thank you for your question. Okay, so you will be aware that the Liberal Democrats' manifesto in 2023 expressed opposition to the imposition of car parking charges in the district. However, when we took office, a review was already underway, instigated by the previous administration, and we considered it sensible to let the work continue. Many have put forward an argument that charging in some areas could improve turnover in car parks, increase footfall and benefit businesses. Therefore, as an administration committed to a sustainable, resilient local economy, it was right that this should be investigated further. The results of this review were presented to the Economic Success Panel on the 21st of October 2024 for members to discuss. This report set out the ways in which a parking management plan could work, but there are only 2 areas in Broadland where charging is any way feasible, and that is in Aylsham and Reetham. The panel did not make a recommendation to the Cabinet other than that further work and consultation would be required before any plan should progress. The position of this administration is that any charging on public car parks by the council must fulfil 3 criteria. 1, there needs to be demand from local residents and businesses for charging. 2, there needs to be evidence that charging would benefit the local economy. And 3, car park charges would at the very least be cost neutral for the council. So that is, a scheme must not cost more to run than it brings in. It won't bring in enough money to resurface car parks or do anything else. It's got to be simply cover its own costs. Alongside those criteria, any scheme should also have included allowances for residents who don't have access to on-street parking. At this time, no scheme has been put forward that would meet all those criteria that I've just set out. So at this time, there are no plans for Cabinet to discuss the issue further, and so there are no plans to introduce charging for any council-run car park in Broadland. I hope that's absolutely clear. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, please, Chair, if I may. Thank you. I recently had a leaflet through my door with a petition against introducing car parking charges in Broadland from the local Conservative MP, Jerome Mayhew. It would appear to me that either he can't find fault with this very well-run administration or has to clutch at straws for an issue to campaign against. So I'd suggest maybe he needs a new researcher. Is there any advice the leader could perhaps provide so he doesn't make this error again in the future?
I think perhaps what I can say is it's a pity that our MP didn't come and ask us before he did this, because we'd already been looking at this. So to be perfectly clear, you know, we've always been against it. If he'd come and talk to us, actually, we would have been more than happy to talk him through what we were thinking about it. So I think maybe if he'd like to come and chat to us, then obviously we'll be happy to respond to any questions that he may have.
Thank you. There are no motions, so I declare the close of this meeting at 8:14. 8:16. That clock was wrong. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.